much. Thank you for the opportunity to work with you today. So the most important thing about project management is to get a nice cup of coffee, because you can't get work done without a cup of coffee. So let's jump into the session, and I want to welcome you to this is Jetty. It's Asana's mascot. You'll see some of the information around this Jetty when you work around on Asana. There's some other unicorns and flying things that will happen. It's almost like fun, making work a little bit more fun. Where am I? So I am Paul. My name is Paul Grobler. I'm from South Africa, and at this moment in Boston, USA. We moved to Boston for my wife's PhD, and I'm actually then married to an engineer. So I've got a little bit of engineering background, studied for 2 years. So the whole idea of using project management for STEM training and your projects is actually very close to my heart, working on campus also with some of my friends to understand the mindset of fixing things and creating solutions. So you can see my contact details on my website also on there. So where do we start? So the bigger question is the why. Why do project management? Why even try to do it? Is your brain not good enough just to keep everything in your mind and just to know what to do next? But the thing is, your brain doesn't have a brain. Your brain actually is not that good with the resource management inside of your head. I'll refer to it a little bit later on, but David Allen is one of the gurus in project management and work management. And he says that your mind, as soon as there's a task in your head and you don't write it down or put it into a system that you trust, then it's got this open loop. And the whole time you will actually just remember and remind yourself in places and times that is irrelevant, not relevant for doing that work. So you need a system to actually do the work. So the Asana actually commissioned a report, zoom in. So this is the report on how people spend their time at work. It's called the anatomy of work, and it creates did a search on the why do project management, why work better. You'll see on the link, you can actually download it there for free and read it. This was done before remote working actually took on this past month. So the research is done with knowledge workers all around the world, and they actually made some very interesting conclusions. But let's start off with a question. So if you break down your activity of the average knowledge worker, the activity per week, then they say you can do it in 3 ways: work about work, skilled work, and strategizing and planning. The difference is most people actually love to do the skilled work. That's the thing that you want to do someday, the thing that you're training to do. The work about work is the thing that you have to do in order to do the thing that you want to do. And then strategize and planning is the planning side of it. So if you think, what's the percentage that people average spend a week on those 3 things? Just think about it a moment. Maybe it's 10% on work about work, maybe skilled work, 30%, hopefully more, 50%. Strategize and planning. Most people say they do it a lot, but not enough. But what the research actually showed us was the following. It said that work about work takes about 60% of an average work week. Skilled work, only 27%. And strategizing and planning, only 13%. Why is this a problem? The reason why this is a problem is that work about work is actually not doing the work that you want to do or that should be done. It's the work that you need to do in order to get to the work that you have to do. And work about work is sending out emails, scheduling appointments, searching for information, things like that. You actually want to do the skilled work. It's only 27% of your work week. And then planning that is only 13%. So the goal of project management is to work more on the planning, higher that amount, in order to work less on the work about work and more on the skilled work. So I'm going to reiterate that again. Project planning's goal is to make the work about work less. And you can only do that if you plan more in order to do the skilled work more. So that's the big goal of the why of project planning. But you actually need to have a framework inside of where you actually have to almost like work on the work about work. So let's first define what is work about work. So work about work is the activities that take time away from meaningful skilled work, including communication about work, searching for information, switching between apps, and there's so many apps, managing shifting priorities, and chasing the status of work. So this is it's actually in the corporate world a big problem. People spend a lot of time in switching apps, not focusing on what they should be focusing on, handling emails. They say the biggest reason why people actually work late is because of emails and chats that they have to do with other people and meeting up with them. I think in today's world, this actually changed a lot more because suddenly you've got remote working. You actually at your home, like my brother said it this week, he's not working from home, he's now sleeping at work because work just took over. So you have to manage this work about work to get it more effective and also to take your rest so that you can actually work more productive. But if this is the why, the lowering of the work about work, the question is, what is the different frameworks that you actually can work inside? One that I would actually would really recommend is look into this. Getting Things Done, GTD, by David Allen. This is the person that I mentioned before. He says it's getting things done is the art of stress-free productivity. He just says, well, you don't actually distinguish between work and life. You just have work. It doesn't sound very good, but like if you have to take out the trash, that's something to do. So he doesn't actually talk about project management, but work management and task management. Doing anything can be written out as a task, and that can be defined in certain ways. This whole book, you can actually buy at Amazon. There's a lot of YouTube videos. Just Google Getting Things Done, David Allen, you'll see some of the things. There's a lot of resources available on their website also. Have a look at that. I think it's life-changing to work through this and to get the basic idea. But here's a recap. So there's 5 stages in this. He talks about the 5 stages of getting things done. The first one is to capture. You have to capture your ideas, your tasks, your reminders in some place. Call it an inbox. It can be an email. It can be a physical thing on your desk, but some place that you actually capture the things. Just think about your at the house at this moment. When you get back from outside, is there a table that people just place things on, things down? That's the house's inbox. So think about your messages. Where's your messages stored? If you've got ideas, maybe you journal. That's your ideas inbox. But you need to capture things that's around. The question is not what is and what you should do with it. It's only capturing it in a trusted place. The next step is to process that. The question that you take it out of this capturing place, this inbox, and then you ask yourself, what is it? Because you don't know what it is, you just captured it. You just wrote it down somewhere in a piece of paper or on a booklet on a journal. You ask the question, what is it? And then with that, you ask, what is the next question? Or what is the next action? You try to define it. And is it the trick? If it's less, it takes less than 2 minutes to do, just do it. It will take you longer to write it down somewhere, either log it into Asana or some other task management app or project management app. Just do it if it takes less than 2 minutes to do. But you process what you've captured. Then the next step is to organize, because you have to put it somewhere that you trust, put it in the right place. Maybe it's something that you have to put in a file somewhere as a reminder, or maybe it's an event that you have to schedule put it onto a calendar. But yes, it's the important thing. Put it in a place that you trust. If you don't put it in a place that you trust, for example, that will remind you on the right day to do the thing, or remind you on the right date or place to buy a certain thing, then if you don't trust it, you keep it actually in your mind. Then the fourth thing is reflect. Review that list. Review your system regularly. Review your projects. Once a week project review is actually a very good thing to do. Just go over your list and see, is it still relevant? Should you delete the thing? Should you defer it? Should you give it away to another person, delegate it? Should you actually activate it this next coming week and do it? And that's the fifth step, is just then do it. Some things, if you clarify it enough, then you actually can do it. So here's a trick. People don't do easy things. They do things that they are clear about. So if you can clarify the task for yourself, then it's easier for you to do. Do this experiment in the next week or 2 weeks. If you want somebody to do a certain thing, just clarify their next action as easy as possible so that they don't have to think about it and see if they do it. Not make it easy, just make it clear. And how do you make it clear? You go through these 5 steps. You ask the question, did I capture it? Did I process it? What is the next action to do? When is it done? So that's the other questions. When is it done? When do that person know when it's done? When do I know it when it's done? Reflect on it and then put it in a system that you actually trust and then do it. So that is a framework of doing it. There's other frameworks that you can actually use and look into. So if you look into waterfall project management, that's another way of doing it. That's more time-based. You will hear words like a Gantt chart, dependencies, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. That's a certain way to structure a project. Then another way, framework that you can work with is Agile. Maybe you've heard this word, or Kanban. So if you remember, if you play around with something like Trello, then you'll see the boards. I'll show you that in Asana also. But that's a Kanban style or an Agile style. Maybe the other word that you've heard is about Scrum. It's not the rugby term, but the Scrum project management. So if you Google that, there's a lot of information on that also. So that's another framework of trying to understand how projects actually work and how to move them through a certain workflow. But all of those, they can actually be helpful also with this GDD method. So let's jump into Asana and see how Asana actually works. So what is Asana? Well, Asana is a work management platform for teams to use to stay focused on goals, projects, and daily tasks that grow business. Now, this is not just for business. There's a lot of people that actually use it for households, nonprofit organizations that uses small businesses, small tasks, small teams working together, and then more and more students like you using tools like Asana. Asana it came into my life about 7 years ago. So I've got businesses back in South Africa where we actually help people to support people and nonprofit organizations on getting to their mission. And we actually use Asana to get that done. And in this past year, 2 years, I've been focusing on training people on how to use Asana actually personally and in the organizations to better use Asana as a tool. The most positive thing about Asana, you'll see it's very flexible. You can use it for a lot of different things. The bad thing about Asana is it's very flexible. If you don't design it for a specific thing, it will actually overwhelm you with a lot of features or maybe the lack of the certain features. But the ideal with Asana is to get the tool to move to the background so that you actually can work and focus on your work. So with that, let's jump over. I'm going to share my screen with you, and then we're going to talk about Asana in itself. Let me just get to the correct screen. And on the screen, you'll see a demo version of Asana. In this, let's walk through it. The top left, you'll see the logo going back to Asana, then the home button, My Task, and Inbox and Portfolios. Forget about Portfolios. That's on the paid accounts. So I'll focus on this webinar on the free account. My daily routine would actually go into Asana, firstly go into inbox. So this is not your email inbox, but it's like a notification inbox. You'll see that my notification is actually, I'm snoozed for this moment because in my settings, it shouldn't give me notifications after a certain while. In this notification inbox, you've got this activity view. So here you can see Ironman actually accepted my invite 2 hours ago, and I can see all of my recent notifications here. When I handle a notification, I can click on it and it will give me notifications here on tasks that's been done, where something that's commented on, if something is assigned to me, if people need more information, or any notification will be here. If there's too many notifications, then you can actually at the top right filter them. You can say, show me only the notifications where things are assigned to me, or where I'm mentioned, or where assigned by me. These notifications you'll get in your email also. So as soon as you get the email, and you don't, I really recommend this, to actually manage your notifications here and say that you actually don't want the email reports, and you just say, well, don't send me any email reports. And you just move into this activity notification. So what do you do with these notifications? You read it, you act on it, you define it. But then after you've finished, then you can archive the notification. Remember, you archive the notification, not the task in itself. So there is archived. Then great, I'm up to date with all of my team's work. So the next step would be to go to my tasks. In my tasks, this is almost the place where I stay 80 to 90% of my time. I live in my tasks. So there's some things that you have to know about my task. This is your private space. If you create a task in here, nobody will see it unless you add it to a project that other people can see, then they can see it. But you can, in this, add a new task here. And let's say this is task A. Now you'll see there's 4 different headings. Let's collapse this headings. The first one is recently assigned. So this heading is for when people assign tasks to you and you actually have to make a decision on what's the priority. So for example, there I created 2 tasks and I haven't decided when I'm going to work on it. The next heading is today. So that's task that you want to work on today. Upcoming is task that you want to work on the next 1 week. And later, anything that's you want to work on after 1 week. When you hover over these sections, you actually get a pop-up with more information. So how do you define it? Let's go to task 1. So in task 1, I can look at the task and say, oh, let me add a due date in this. And I'm going to say the due date is for the 15th. That's next week. So then I'm going to prioritize it. And remember, you've got keyboard shortcuts. It's very helpful to use these shortcuts. And so next week, Wednesday, that's upcoming. So I'm going to move it to upcoming. Now, if you want to search for it, there it is. So let's just collapse it again. This task is new task. I'm going to put a due date on it. No, I'm not going to put a due date on it. I'm just going to move it to today because I'm going to work on it today. So now you see the recently assigned is gone because you have prioritized everything already. The question with the recently assigned is when are you going to work on it? And then if in doubt, add a due task, add some more information in here, add it to a project if you want to. Then jump into today. So now you just focus on today. You focus on these tasks and you do these tasks. Here's the secret trick of the inbox. This task A with this deadline, as soon as that, let's say we do some time travel, it's next weekend, Wednesday, then automatically this task will actually move up to today. So you don't have to later on move it into today. The similar with the later. So let's say, for example, we've got this new task and I'm going to work on the 30th on it. And then I'm going to prioritize it for later. Today is open and on the later, there it is. But this on the week before the 30th of April, this task will automatically jump into upcoming. And in the day that it's due, that task will jump into today. This way, if you design it with the due task, the due date in mind, then you actually just have to focus on today, and when it's due, then it will jump into. Read up on this. Most of the clients that I actually work on, as soon as they get how the inbox work, then their productivity actually skyrocket. You can also in the add a section. It's just like a heading almost, a way to organize it, but don't worry about that too much. The milestone is on a paid account. You can view all of your task in a calendar view if you want to do that. And then if files are associated with tasks, then you'll see that there. Don't worry about the files that much. Asana's not a very good file organization, but it's a very good task organization. At the top right, you can see, oh, there's a filter. I only want to see all my incomplete tasks, or you want to see what did you actually do today or yesterday or the past week, or you want to see all of the tasks. So then you can actually see there's a task that's been done. So let me move that back to all incomplete. And then if you don't want to use this today, upcoming, later, then you can sort the tasks by project or by due date. Now you can see all of that's done, and there it's according to the due date. Then you can see there's a 6th February one that's overdue. And then you can clear it all. So that is the My Tasks. So let me go over it again. The first step that I do is go into my inbox. I make sure that I see all of the notification, what's going on in the notifications. After that, I go to My Task and I prioritize everything that's, so I make sure that it's sorted by none. And then anything that's in recently assigned, I prioritize that. And I then get to work on what's due today. So that is the My Tasks. Then you'll see next is the favorites. So as soon as you want to favorite something, you see the star, then you can favorite and it will be as much just like a bookmark or a shortcut. Reports, you don't have to worry about that. There's some created that's available in the free one. Is all show me all of the tasks that you've created, but you've assigned to other people or not assigned to people, but there you've got a list that all of the tasks that you created. The next up is your team. So as soon as you click on your team, then you'll see a list of all of the members, description of the team, put some information in here if you want to, a list of all of the projects. You can sort it by a list also. You can see who's members of that projects. In this team, you can have conversations, almost like internal emails in Asana if you want to. And there is the team's calendar also. You can, at the top right, you can invite people to your team. And on the free account that you're probably going to use, you can have a team members up to 15 people on a free account. And you just invite them with their email address and you can say, start them off with a project. So that's the way that you actually can invite them. And then below that, you see the list of all of the projects. Some of the projects will be hidden. You just click there and it will show all of the projects. There's no limitations on how many projects you actually show, but keep the projects limited. You actually want to work very effective with your projects. So try to limit the amount of projects that you work on. Okay, so we've got work through this left-hand side. What I tend to do is try to minimize the amount of information that is on my screen. So they call that the hamburger bar. You just click it and it disappears, or keyboard shortcut tab plus O, then it will reappear. Then there's more screen available for you. So let's jump into a project. How does a project look like? So I've created a project here for today, and we've talked about the introduction. You can add a task there. There's a task, a list of tasks. And if I click on details, I can actually see more information about that task. So introduction, I can mark this off as complete there, or I can mark it off as complete there. Basically, a task has two statuses, incomplete and completed. So let's mark that off as complete. Oh, now it's gone. Well, where have it gone? You see, we've got a filter, show me only the incomplete task. This way you can actually manage the amount of tasks that you see. If you want to see all of the tasks, then you can change it to there, and there it is. So it doesn't disappear. It just marks it off as complete. It state changes and it hides all of the completed task. You can also, as a report, say, what have we done over the past week? So we can say, just show me all of the completed tasks for the past week. The most people use it with incomplete tasks, and then you can actually see it through. In my view, I've got numbering. That's a setting that you actually can do and see just to see how many tasks you have. This small triangle shows, oh, there's 3 subtasks, and there I can collapse them and I can open them. If I open up this task again, you'll see this icon shows you, oh, there's 3 subtasks. The subtask stays here. So in a task here, we've got the subtasks. Let's open up this task and then I'll walk you through how a task works. So when you click on the 3 dots, you can put it into full screen. This is a very, very effective way to focus on a specific thing. So if you don't want to delve into a lot of information with the project, you just want to do this one thing and you want to figure out what's this one thing and work on this one thing, open it up in full screen mode. The keyboard shortcut is Tab X. And as soon as you just make it small again, you'll see the Tab X full screen. So let's run through the project, a task. At the top left, you can mark it off as complete. Then in this box, you'll see this is where you actually define your task. You're asking yourself, who's doing what by when? So this is very important as soon as you assign yourself tasks, but even more important when you assign other people tasks. You have to ask the question, who's doing what by when? And then how do you define when it's done? How would that person know that it's okay to click on that mark as complete? So define a task very, very good so that it can know, oh, it's done, mark it off as complete. This is the what. The who is the assignee. So let's assign this to Captain Marvel. So now Captain Marvel will actually get a notification that this task should be done. And then by when is the due date. So let's do it by the 16th. When it's due and it's got a due time, let's say 10 a.m., you can actually put the time also in there. On the free account, you've got a due date and a due time, but on the paid account, you can actually put a start date into it as well. So now we know who is doing what by when. The next option is projects, because tasks don't just live by themselves. You can actually want to add it to a project, and we call it project management. So you want to manage the different tasks inside of a collection or a bucket of projects. How do you do that? Well, it's already in this one project, but here's a thing that's very unique of Asana. You can actually add it to another project. So let's add it to another project. Oh, there's another project. Now, this task is actually connected to this project and to this project. I'll show you later on how this works in the project view, but you can see now you don't have to duplicate the task into different projects and want to know, did this person do that because it's in this paper or in this list? Now, if it's done in this one project, it's also done in another project. Priority is like a custom field that's included, and then you can actually just like drop down. You can say this is a high priority or low priority. If it's not available, there's some setting where you can actually activate it on a project. And then in the description, anything that's need to know to get this done, you can add it in the description. So you can have a header. You can bold it, underline it. So basic text editing. You can put a list in here. You can add a link inside of here. So what's good about this is when you link to documents, for example, you can add mention and you can use emojicons. I really recommend using emojis for something. So if you say, even in a task, you want to add a emojicon for something, just almost like an icon to make it more noble. What is this? Or did it stand out? Then a small trick in Asana is the add mentions. You know what an add mention is, but in Asana, you can add mention a person. So as soon as I add mention this person, they will get a notification. I can add mention a task. So in this icon, you'll see all of these are tasks, and I can say link to this task. I can add mention a project. you'll see this icon. Now I've linked to that project. Every task, every project's got its own URL. And then it's easy for this person that's working in this project, this task, to actually complete it, to know all of the information in this. Put as much as information as needed to get this task done. But here's a very important thing. Defining a task is not doing the task. The goal is to do the task, not just to define it. Make it easy for yourself or that other person to actually do the task. Define it. Takes about 2 minutes extra, and define the task as well as possible. A great tip is do not assign the task until you finish defining it. And only when you're finished with the task defined, then you actually assign it to another person. Because otherwise they will get this notification, they will go into the task, and then you're still editing the task and they don't know what to do. At the bottom, there's subtasks. See the subtask as a checklist that you can do, almost like defining your next action, especially the very next action you're going to do. Is it a call? Try to use a action word in the description. Call this person, send an email to this person, write this thing, design that thing. So just in this one, we actually did work through that one. We did work through that one, and I mentioned that. So now you actually see, oh, there's some things that happen when you complete things. So some fun in Asana. In subtask, you can also put due dates in it. And you can assign also the subtask if you want to. This person will get a notification. They've got a task to do, and that task will be in their My Tasks. Let's assign this one to Hulk, and let's assign this one to Spider-Man. Okay, then at the bottom, you'll see you can add more tasks, and below that you can see when is it created, and there's all of the log for what happened to this task. So if you want to know what happened, oh, that changed, the due date changed then, and it was added to another project then, and then it was assigned. So you can actually see the history behind this task. And at the bottom, you've got a comments, and keep conversation in Asana that is linked to this specific task in this task. What you can do here is you can say, I'm going to mention Captain America and say, help with this ASAP. And I'm going to comment. And then you can see here, it says 3 people will be notified. Who's the 3 people? Me, Captain Marvel, and Iron Man. And actually, because I mentioned Captain America in this, that person will also be notified, and that person will be added as a collaborator to this task. So even though this task is assigned to Iron Man, there's 4 collaborators on this task. And they help with doing this. If they want to remove themselves from this task, you can actually remove people from it, or you can, for yourself, leave this task. So now I'm not a collaborator anymore. A very good convention is to say only the person that's assigned can mark it off as complete, and only people that's collaborators can remove themselves as collaborators. Don't remove anybody else from a task as a collaborator, or assign up another person's task as complete. Let them see that unicorn flying over their screen if they want to. There's some satisfaction on marking a thing off as complete. So, and then another convention is, as soon as you see something here, you've got a like button there. You get a notification, and this is not just I like this comment, but it's almost like an acknowledgement. Oh, I've read this. So you can use the like button as a way of communicating to the other persons in the project that you actually saw this, or that you read this. At the top, you can add files from your computer, from Dropbox, Google Drive, Box, and OneDrive. Let's say, for example, you add it from a computer. It opens up File Explorer. There's pictures. There's another things that you can do. Let's say I'll use that picture of Iron Man. And there it is. Now I've got this attachment. If I click on it, it will open up that attachment, and it's available for the people in the team. And then there you can actually delete this attachment, or you can download this. Then you can add subtask here. That's another way of adding it. There you can click on and get the link of this task. And let's say, for example, I paste it in this description. You'll see there's the link, but it also pulls in the name. So that link is connected to this task. You can like this task in itself. You can use that almost like a will do the task that's the most liked. And then you've got extra functionality. All of these icons are paid, but there you can add it to a new project. You can add tags, just like hashtags. You can add hashtags to your tasks just for organization. Very good idea is to add a tag. So for example, this will take me 2 hours to do, or a place where I should do it at home. Well, today everything happens at home, so probably that's not a very relevant task tag. So let's go down here. You can duplicate the task. So almost like creating a template. And now you say duplicate this task, rename it, duplicate also the task description, not the assignee, the subtask, leave the attachments, add the collaborators, and add the due date, and create a new task. It will not open up the new task, but it will create it at the bottom left. And then as soon as it's created, then I can click into that. And this is the new duplicated task. So it's a different task from the one that I've worked in. So the next is you can create follow-up tasks. This is a very special task. Then you can print it, and then there's some advanced actions, make a subtask of another one. If this task is big enough, then you can actually convert it to a project, or you can merge duplicate tasks. That is a task. So that's the basic building block of Asana, is the task. So in the last few minutes, let's jump back. We can mark that off as complete. We can mark that off as complete. We've run through some core features of the task. Let me run through some features of the project. So now, because it's project management, in this, you've got a list. This is different views of your project. In this way, the board view won't actually show you anything because there's no sections. I'll show you another example of another board later on. Timeline view, you can skip that. That's a premium feature. Calendar, there's a calendar view. Then very important is the progress view. So this is important to do status updates. You can remind the project owner of doing a project review every Friday. There's some links that you can put into this project. You can have an owner of this project, and you can have a due date for this project. And then forms you don't actually have to use. And then there's some conversation that's almost like a conversation that's linked to this specific project. Then let's jump into a project that's more defined. So here we've got a very important mission. You can actually change this color. This is just a cosmetic change. You can change this icon to a certain thing that's not functional, just cosmetic. You can, if you click on the eye, you get some more information. For example, this one is owned by Nick Fury, due for 4th of June. You can add the name to this project. And very important thing is in the description, add a goal. Say, oh, this is for the next 8 weeks, we have to save the world. In your case, you can say, who's the mentor? You can mention them. You can say, who's the student lead and who's the members. You can put information in the description for, let's say, for example, a link to Google Docs. There you've got sections. You can add the section there, and then you've got different tasks. This is the columns. This is one view. You can see, let's assign this one, and we assign this one, and we assign this one. You can add dates. So this one is for today. This one is for next week. And this one is for the week after that. And here's the projects. That one is added to another project. So it's called multi-homing. So if you want to search for something like that, go to Asana's forum and search for multi-homing and how did that work. So that's project. And there we've got tags. So remember the 2-hour tag, we're going to put it in there. And then if you want to, you can add a priority field to this project. And now we've got this column. And you can say this is a medium priority. Maybe this column actually doesn't help you. So let's hide this column. And this column, let's change the diff to wide. Here you can show all of the tasks, like I mentioned. You can filter things to say, show only my tasks. Oh, there's nothing I should do. You can sort the task by due date. So you've got a different view. And then you can say there's sort inside of sections. So that means all of phase one is now still in phase one, but it's according to due date. Rules, don't worry about that. That's on the business account, and fields is also on the premium account. But here you can say, I want this priority, but I don't want that to be shown in this field. This one in board view, you'll see the different phases of the columns. So probably you'll remember I talked about Kanban or Trello. So for example, here's a work request project, and this is like the board view. So you've got some information of new request, and now you can move this one through a workflow. So this view is just another way of seeing a project. This one is another way of seeing a project. Certain projects will work the better in this view, and certain projects that go through a workflow will be best in this view. And that is basically a quick run through of Asana's features. So let me go back to this one and see if we managed to get all of the things. We talked about that. We talked about that. We talked about my task, favorites. Let me just favorite this one. And got that one. And oh, there's some control click. If I want to select more things, then I can do that. So some tips will pop up if you want to remember who's doing what by when. And then some settings, top right. Remember this, I'm just going to show you quickly. This is the place where you actually add some settings, more about yourself. If you're away, you can actually use it there. Notifications, there's a lot of notifications where you can actually set the browser notifications and the do not disturb. There's some more information, but if you want to, go into display, and there you can change what's the compact, you can change the backgrounds. That's quite good. And then apps, what apps integrate with Asana. And then this is the secret one, the extra delight. So make sure that you go into there, toggle that extra delight, and have additional celebrations and delightful surprises when you do things. Because at the end of the day, all of this should just help you to actually get things done. So that was an example, and I think there's some time for a question and answers. That was a very fast, quick run through, but I hope that is very helpful.
Absolutely. Before we start taking question answers for the projects that the students will be working on, which is typically groups of 10, there'll be 2 project leads, and the rest of them, there will be some task leads among them. Is there any recommendation you have about how to set up the project, the different views that you showed?
So I would actually suggest the way that you should do it is, when I go back to this shared view, is when you create a new project, at the top right, you can create a project, and then it will give you this options. And there's some templates that you can work in. I just narrowed it down to engineering, but there's some more options. And you can see if there's a good template that you can work with, and you can click on it, and then you can use this template. But if this is actually not very helpful, you can go to the project and you say, create a blank project for me. So I'm going to create a blank project, and let's just call it demo. I'm going to use it in a list view, and I'm going to create this project. Now, the first thing that I would do is define your project. So I click on the I, and then I make sure that there's one person that takes responsibility for this project. That can be the student lead, or that can be the mentor. But that's the one person that is almost like taking ownership of this project. You don't have to put a date on it, but it's good to have that communicated, and then describe who's the team inside of this description. And after you've done that, then make sure that that team has got access to this project by inviting them at the top right. So you share this project with that team. After you've done that, then you start to map out the different tasks, and then make sure that every task has got an assignee and a due date. And then you can actually run from there. The person, if you go to the progress tab, that owner of the project will have to go in and toggle this switch, so that the status update is a very important place then, so that you can actually know what's going on the project, who's doing what is the progress on this project. But that is the basic setup that I would do with a project like that, is one project, add the team members, define all the tasks, and make sure that they are assigned with a due date.
Got it. Thank you. So there is a question being asked, is it possible to transfer ownership in a project?
Yes, it is possible to transfer ownership of the project. So the way that you do it is you go and click on that eye, and then let me share my screen again. It's easier to visualize it. So on the eye, there's the project is owned by this person. I just actually click there and I select a new person. That person will automatically be added to this project, and they will get a notification that now they are the project owner. If I click on the progress, then there also I would be able to see who's the project owner. And there also I will be able to change it to another person. Again, that person will be added to this that project as soon as that happens. A key element of Asana or value is transparency. So remember that the idea is not to hide anything from people. And that's why it's possible to add things to Asana, and other people can change the things and quickly change the project owner. But to have very good communication, especially with remote teams, make sure that you have very good communication on what's going on.
But there's no protection per se. Like that is one thing that did, in our last round, we had some issues because students are new to this. Sometimes by mistake, you know, they drop a collaborator or change a project ownership. Is it a true statement that Asana doesn't have protection against things like that?
So Asana has got protection against that, but that's on the paid accounts. So on the paid accounts, you can add a person to a project, but then it's only comment only. So then they can see the projects, but then the tasks, they can't change or add tasks, but they can comment on the tasks. So the protection is there, but it's more on the paid accounts. On the premium, on the free account, everybody can actually change the project as needed.
All right. So there's a question from the audience. Can you add dependency? For example, task B can start when task A is done.
Yes, you can do that, but again, that is also a premium feature. So in the premium feature, you get access to the timeline view, and that also with the dependencies. Then you can say task A is dependent on task B, C, and D, and you can actually only work on that task as soon as, or get notified when that task is done. So it's available, but that's a premium feature.
I see. Yeah, I think I remember this. Without that dependency, it was not very useful. So initially we had started with a free license, and then we moved to the premium because the task dependency was something that was almost critical.
I agree. The workaround for that is to have almost a description in the description box, have a description that links to the task that the task is dependent on. It's not a very foolproof way of using it, but it's a way of communicating. Oh, you can't do this because it's depending on A, B, or C. What's nice about using that way of mentioning another task, you can actually see if that task is complete or not complete without going to that task.
Oh, you're saying that the act mentioned that you are showing is not just for people who can mention tasks as well.
So let's say, for example, we've got in this important mission, we've got task 1, task 2, and task 3. And I'm going to open up task 1. And in the description, I'm going to say dependent on. And I'm going to say at, and I'm going to mention task 1.1. So now I actually told the team that this is the dependency, and they should first look if, before they do task 1.2, they should first look there. But see what happens with this description as soon as I mark task 1 off as complete. So now that's changed. So you can actually see, oh, it is already done. So you can move forward. So that's a workaround on the free account. and just to make sure that you actually take into account that there's these dependencies.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Yeah, we didn't figure this workaround. There's another question. This is more a STEM away question. How do I join a project? What will happen is once you're assigned a particular team, there will be an Asana, one of these projects that Paul was explaining, you'd be assigned to one of these projects. Then that team would work on all the tasks that are there for that project. And since we have multiple teams working on the same project, it would be separate projects, but you could possibly communicate with each other. Let me explain this to you, Paul. I would love your feedback on what is the best way to proceed. We have, let's say, one project, one particular project definition, and we have 5 teams working on that separately. But it would be nice for them to have some communication so that if they're stuck, they can talk to the other team. Would that be separate teams and one project, or?
So you've got different teams working on the same project?
On the same project definitions. Let's say, let's just to make it simple, let's say there is a project, write code ABC, and different teams are working on this. So they need to communicate among themselves, which is the primary thing, which is what you just went through. But is there a way that maybe on every week or so, they can kind of communicate with other teams and see if they're stuck on something, they can kind of.
Well, a way that you can actually do that, just to think straight from experience quickly, is, let's say, for example, we've got this very important mission, and I'm going to just duplicate this one so that there's 2 of them. So that's a duplication. It will create the second one. So let's say, for example, team 1 is working on this one. Very important mission 1. And there's the duplication. That's team 2. So what you can do is create a blank project just in a list view and say, you just call it something like communication between teams. And I would change the logo to something like that one. And then as soon as this teams, and you add both teams to this project, for example, or maybe just a spokesperson from different teams to this project, and they list the things that they want to discuss here and have the discussion in this project. What they also can do is, I don't know if it's a good thing for this project in itself, but they can add, let's say, for example, task 1.2, they want to add this also to the communication between the teams. Now the other team can go in here and say, oh, this team, they want to discuss this task. So that's a workaround for it. But I don't think it's the best option. Maybe a very good option is to either have something like a Slack where they have the instant communication on a topic. That's one option. Or another option is just to have for example, another project where they say any communication between the teams happens in that project.
So we define one project with all the different teams on it.
Yeah.
It should be used only for inter-team communication.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to do that because the limit of 15 people.
I see.
So as soon as it's more than 15 people, then well, firstly, the communication would get a lot of communication, and then you run into the limitations of the free accounts.
Okay. And I don't see any more questions, but this is the first time that many of them are even seeing Asana. So once they start using the tool, this will be really handy. They can come back and see how to use it. The inbox view that you showed was something I don't think we quite figured out how to do that. That was one of the issues students were having, is they just found the inbox very clumsy, but it was mainly because of the way the different filters and all you were showing is something that we were not aware of. At that time, we hadn't done a training pre-hand. But when the two start, if they have further questions, or if they're getting stuck, they want to find out what is the best way to use the tool. Do you have any recommendations for where to look?
Yes, I actually have a recommendation. So on the screen, you'll see academy.asana.com. So in academy.asana.com is a very good resource for training. So on the screen share, you'll see there's some short courses you can do, learn the basics of Asana. There's 3 courses on that. Master the premium features and onboard your team. There's ways to use Asana, how to use Asana. There's 17 videos. So there's webinars that you can do. This is a very good tool to actually get to know Asana better. And you can do that on your own time. And you can actually play the videos to 2 times speed or faster if it's boring. Then you can just move through it quicker. But this is a very good resource. I actually want to plug another thing. Let me just quickly get that. And that is, so there's recently a book that came out, The Secrets of Successful Teams in Asana. So this is another certified pro that wrote this book. So it's independent. It's not by Asana. Myself is also not affiliated with Asana, so we can say good things and bad things about Asana and how it works, and not work. But he actually gave us an idea of having 20% off of his ebook. So at that URL, if you log there, then I'll send a link through. If you want to have secrets to the successful teams of Asana, it's available. It's a very good book. I was a contributor also with one of the chapters. So there's a lot of resources like that out there. Another good resource is the Asana forum. So if you've got questions on anything, just go to forum.asana.com, ask your question there, and there will be people jumping onto that question and try to help you with figuring it out. Last year, there was a young guy that he just tries to figure out how to do work on its own. It's not a business. He's just struggling with getting things done. And he started a whole conversation and people helped with tips and tricks, not just about Asana, but about productivity. So forum.asana.com is also a very good place for people to get help.
Thank you, Paul. And leading up to it, that leads up well to the next question. Is not Asana specific, but more generic. It's a question, what advice do you have for someone who wants to become a product manager?
So if you want to become a product manager, there's a lot of good information out there, short courses. Start to do that short courses online. You just go to YouTube, how to become a project manager, short videos that there's a lot of project managers that wants to give you that information, that skills. Yes, it's a hard skill, so you can train for it. There's the Institute for Project Management that you can go through more officially, things like the Scrum Institute, but it's also a soft skill. Start with your own work. So for example, how do you manage your own things, and think about the philosophy behind work and getting work done, especially now these days with remote working. It's a skill that it will help you to work better and help other people to work better. But that's the first thing is I would actually go to YouTube and search for how to become a project manager, short courses, and you can that's a very good tool. And then also Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, things like that. And
also participate in our virtual internships. The way we have done it is exactly to give you that experience.
Yes.
So I was just adding to that.
It's almost like a muscle to train. It's not project management is not something that you train it. So get involved with projects like the virtual internships and train yourself. Learn every day more about how work work.
Yeah, that is really well put, Paul. You have to build up the muscle memory, and then the efficiency goes up so much. It really helps you. Doesn't matter what you're doing at that point or which level of your career you're at. It just makes you more efficient. I'll just add one more question if you have time.
Yes.
How different are the project management tools? So you have been, this particular training was in Asana. Let's say they're using a different one, Trello or something else. Is there a big ramp up each time you use a new tool, or what are the things that will be common in all of these tools?
So I would actually, I'm not the person that say that one tool is better than the other one. I think the biggest thing is to choose a tool and to get them to know that tool. Um, yeah, all tools have something that the other tool don't have and work better in certain ways. There's some things that's in Asana that's frustratingly lacking for me, but I know they're working on things. I think what's in all of the tools is how to structure a task. So that's one very important thing is how to understand what's the functions and the structure of a task. You can actually do that without an online tool. You can use something like sticky notes and then use something like a Jamboard of Google or a whiteboard that you just take pictures of and send that to the people. So there's a basic functionality of tasks and the interaction of that task. That interaction is project management. So try to understand that, and then don't get too consumed by all of the different features of the tools. Try to do the basic good and then move on to the next thing, but get to know the tool and try to stick to a tool. So if you choose something like monday.com or ClickUp or Trello, try to get to know that tool very good. And then if you want to move, then decide, let's say 3 months, 4 months after using that tool, only then to move to another tool. But try to stick it out. I would really say not jump from one tool to another tool. And there's no one size fits all project management tools.
Is there any tool that is more common than others? These are students, they're going to go into careers. What would be the, for our virtual internships, we can really pick any tool at this point. Should we be leaning towards any particular tool?
I would say, I think this is the reason why I stick with Asana, because they're very future focused. They try to, when I talk with the Asana people also, they try to anticipate what work will look like in 5 years' time. Where some of the other tools, they can be popular, like for example, Jira is a very popular tool from Atlassian. Trello is also part of that, but that's focused on software development, and that's the most widely available tool in a lot of project management. But if you don't do any software development, then you actually won't use Jira. Then you'll use something like either monday.com or some people just use Trello then, and the other one is Asana. We see a big uptake on Asana because of its flexibility, and especially because it's project management for non-project managers. So I would actually look into Asana and stick with Asana. Just my personal view. I've looked into some of the other tools, try to move away also, and then got frustrated with the overwhelming feeling of that other tools because they had so many features, but came back to Asana because of the simplicity. I know it doesn't look simple, but as soon as you start to jump in with the other tools, then you go back to Asana and say, oh, Asana is actually a very simple, simplistic way of seeing tasks and projects.
So you're saying once you see other tools, then you realize that Asana is a simpler one.
Yes, yes.
Just to expand on one thing that you mentioned about project management tool for non-project managers. Can you expand on that a little bit?
So some of the project managers, they work in a specific framework, for example, Agile. And then they know how to use a tool, and they almost like they are the translator between the team using the tool and the tool itself. So they put the things into the tool, they manage the tasks, and they assign it to different people, where Asana is actually more collaborative. So anybody can get into Asana, put task in it, assign it to other people. There's no one person managing the tool, it's the team managing the tool. So I think that's the biggest switch around. And that's also why it's very important if your team is going to use Asana, just take the time and check in with the Asana Academy and get the basic right, the basic task management, not even the project management, but the basic task management side. Get that so that everybody can collaborate on the tool. Other tools are seen as project management tools, and Asana is a work management tool. So the small difference, maybe it's a little bit of wordplay, but I think the focus on the work, not on just the projects, I think that makes it different.
That is, then we are done. Thank you so much, Paul. That was really, really useful.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Really enjoyed it.